My name's Harold. I've been sitting here kind of wondering about something, which I don't know, you might know the answer to, but I wonder how much deeper the ocean would be without sponges. You ever think about that? Maybe somebody knows. Anyway, today we're going to get to the next to the last part of the flywheel mold. I guess you could call it a die casting mold, because all I got to do is open it and make one flywheel after another. And unfortunately, this video is just so long that I had to save part 5 for save actually the casting for part 5. So I didn't want to go with 4 parts, but we're going to go to part 5 because after a while you go to sleep watching my video or tune out. But anyway, this guy was a highway patrol down in South Louisiana, and he was driving down this little country road, and he knew it went about a half a mile further down and then made a real 90-degree left turn. And you know, it'd have about a 10-mile-per-hour speed limit on turning that corner. And he was driving along there in the dark, you know, about midnight, and he saw these headlights on the part coming toward the curve, and they were kind of doing a little wobbling around and coming on at a pretty good rate of speed. So he just keeps on watching, fascinated to see, you know, what this guy's going to do about the curve. And the headlights went right on across. The car went right through the fence and just bump out through the pasture. Headlights bounced around all over. So he drove up, and the car had made it 100 yards or more off out in the pasture. He drove out there, the car, you know, got out this flashlight shining it down in his eyes, and there's Thibodeau sitting there in the car, and he says, Mr. Thibodeau, he says, what's the matter with you? He says, you drunk or something? Thibodeau said, well, hell yes. He said, you don't think I'm one of them reckless drivers, do you? Okay, let's go work on the fly. I've never used the little pointy edge finder for anything, but this time I used it to find the center where that little hole's at, because what I'm going to do is, before I do anything, I'm going to experiment a little bit. And I've got the DRO all zeroed out, and I'm going to set it up to cut a 6-hole bolt pattern, because you look at the little flywheels, they've got 6 spokes. So if I make 6 little marks, I should be able to put a straight line across there, and then turn the thing until that straight line is straight with the world, and cut the spokes, and they should be all equidistant from each other. I know there's the business where you can take the divider and flip it end over end around in a circle and find the things, but you know, I've never done it with the DRO, so we're going to try that. What I'll do is come up here and tell the thing I want a bolt hole pattern. Okay, and we know that our circle is 2.5 inches across the diameter, and so the radius is going to be half of that. But what we're going to do is we're going to make these at about a well, maybe a 3-inch circle. I think a 3-inch circle might be better, so that I can be outside of the thing, and if I want to make marks, I can make marks, and it really won't matter. There's 3 inches. Yeah, 3 inches ought to be about right. So I guess the radius of 3 inches is 1.5 inches. Okay. And it says input incept angle, so I'm going to start at 0 degrees. The end angle, I guess that's what, 30 degrees off of 0 would be 330. We'll try that. And put the just a second, I may have to start this over. I mean, stop this and start over. Okay, I figured that out. And we input the most number of holes, which is 6. Okay, now then, hole number 1 went all to F's, so obviously I did something wrong. I don't see why it would go to all F's. So we're going to just start all over. Okay, so we're here. We've got everything. We're even going to tell it Z is on 0 for what good it is. We're going to try again with the bolt holes. Input radius 1.5 inches. Input, it says, circle this part. Input incept angle, I guess that should be 0. I think that worked just as good. The end angle 330. Okay. And the most number of holes is 6. Enter that. Okay, now that looks a lot better. I don't know what I did a minute ago, but it must have been really bad. So let's crank this thing up. And I've already broke my center finder. Well, that's wonderful. Let me interrupt this while I find something else to use for a pointer. Well, I totally buggered up this thing. The spring came out of it. I really think that I can fix it. I'll bend that back to a proper hook and drop it through there and see if I can hook it back on there, but we'll do that later and off camera. I seem to have a habit of messing things up, but like I say, this is the first time I'm doing a lot of things, and I guess you could expect a lot of mistakes. I'm certainly making them anyway. Let me find something else to be my pointer. Okay, since this is the learning how step, I had to move it off of the 1.5 to get myself room to put that drill chuck in there. And what we're going to do, we're going to move the thing until it's 0, and then we're going to bring the drill down, and I'm going to make a black mark where it touches. I'm not going to drill any hole yet. So let's see, we need to go in this direction. I may have the plus and minus set wrong on this thing, just because I turned the scales upside down from what I figure they were supposed to be, or maybe not upside down, but backwards, something. But there's a way in the system there, if you hit the system button, that you can set the little bugger to reverse the direction of the counting, you know, and we'll do that later. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check and see. I guess negative is supposed to be to the left, and negative maybe supposed to be out this way or back that way. See, I don't know which way is negative normally, so I'll have to read up on that. And too far. Every time I get the slack, there we go. That's 0. So I guess my mark's not really going to be perfectly on 0 anyway. Well, okay, that looks like kind of where I should have put it. There's a little stringy tail coming off of it because my hands moved a lot. But now we will do this same thing with the next hole. Move you over there where you can watch it, I guess, maybe. There's 0 again. See if I can make a mark right under the drill bit. That's kind of under it, a little bit off. And there you are. I don't know if that's too right or not. It sure doesn't look right to me, because we've got one here and one here real close. These two are about that far away, and everybody else is that far away. That's not right, was it? So the ending angle on that should have been some other number than what I had there. So while I learn how to do this, I'm going to turn off the camera. You've watched me make enough mistakes already. Okay, so I figured out what was wrong. With my ending angle, I should start at 0 and end at 330, and I should have said end at 300. I'm sure a real machinist would have never even thought of making that mistake, but you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equidistant holes. So now all I have to do is just to take that drill and put a little dot on each spot that I want to go to, and everything will work out really wonderful. So we'll start all over and really make some little tiny dents in there for me to lay a straight edge across and figure out where to put the, well, I may make it a smaller circle. I could do that, put my little dents right on the inside there. That might make it easier. We'll give that a shot. I'm going to reposition the camera and recalculate that, and we'll get started. Okay, all this figuring out stuff is sure have almost given me a headache here. This redneck's just not suited for all that thinking, but I finally got it all figured out. I wanted to put a smaller circle in there, and the radius was 0.875, and it admittedly took me forever to figure out how to put 0.875 in there. They don't really mention that in the book about how to put a decimal point in when you're starting off, if your number's smaller than 1, smaller than 1 inch. And I finally figured out you can put in a 0, and then you can put in a decimal point. Well, the camera turned itself off on me while I was doing that, but we now have 6 little holes around here that I can turn so that I can know when I'm straight across with each spoke and the straight difference. I'll only have to make 3 cuts, but nevertheless, I guess next I should do the other side just like I did this one, and then cut the spokes, because I think that would be easier all the way around. I'm going to have to change the setup to clamp this down outside of that vise. So off camera, I'm going to go ahead and do the other half. It'll be the same thing as this one. So in as much as I set it up, one hole is straight in line with the x-axis, so we're just going to let it go ahead and cut that one before I ever do anything. Tend to move that fast. Well, it came to me that it was fortunate that I laid the holes out where one was straight, in the x-axis there, so I could cut right straight across. This is going to be right here where the lid comes in. Cover up my little mistake there, inattentiveness. But I lucked out there. I could feed it on the x-axis and get the first spoke, so I'd only have to do two more setups on each one and finish them up. I'm doing the last one there right now, and then it'll all be gravy, I think. And there is the setup that I ended up with, and had to turn it and set it up, turn it and set it up. At least it worked out, I think, down to drilling the top hole and using a taper ringer on the center of it. Okay, they're done. All I need is a little bit bigger taper pin to go in that center hole. But for testing it, I'll go ahead and plug that hole up with something, and we'll get back to it. But other than that, everything looks like it's ready to test.